Hey there, guys. All right, today we are back with some more geography now, and this time we have reached Mexico. Before we dive in, make sure you go and check out the links in the description box below. I would love it if you joined the Discord and followed me over at Twitch. Got nothing to say really at the beginning of this episode. I don't know exactly. Yeah, nothing really to say here. I don't. Brain, fucking going crazy today. So let's go ahead and just dive in and learn about the geography of Mexico. And I freaking hope that that one guy is back. The one guy with the massive shoulders, the yoked out biceps.
Finalmente hemos llegado al episodio de México, pero no puedo hacer esto sin un mexicano de verdad. Denle la bienvenida a mi amigo César de Puerto Vallarta.
Hola, buenas tardes a todos.
César, si tuvieras que decir una cosa de México para abrir este episodio, ¿cuál sería?
Pues México es un país místico, colorido, lleno de cultura y tradiciones. México va mucho más allá que el mariachi y el tequila solamente. Pronto les contaremos.
Bueno. Oh, yeah, and he speaks English too.
Oh, yeah, I went to college in Texas, so a little bit.
One thing that always I can't grasp. I don't know what this says about me. But like every time they bring in someone from the country, I always respect it. Want to make sure I respect it. But everyone comes in so seemingly loving of their country, and stuff. And then I'm just sitting here and I'm like, I could never say that stuff about where I'm from. I can't say that about America. I can't picture myself saying that about any fucking country were I to be just say I have I'm the same kind of person. Just make me I don't know, Belgian. I wouldn't be able to say it about Belgium either. I would, make me French. I'd not be able to say it about France. So yeah. I'm not a pride in one's country kind of guy. Maybe what that could be? It could be a whole, thing developed from the American nationalists, that are the American patriots that are very loud and boisterous about it. And that might be why I'm like this. Are we having therapy right now? Is this therapy? Does this count as therapy? I don't know. Anyways, I just wanted to make that note. I just can't. It's just something I can't grasp. People being super adoring of their country. Now, of course, I'm sure he's probably got complaints. Everyone should have complaints about their home country, about where they're from, because nothing is free of criticism.
It's time to learn geography
Now!
Hey everyone, I'm your host Barbs.
And I'm Cesar.
As you know, I'm American, Caesar's Mexican. We're neighbors. I'm excited. You excited?
Yes, I'm very excited for this episode. I've been following geography now since the BC countries, so this is something I've been waiting for a long time now.
Oh, by the way, we stopped doing sponsored brands on country episodes, but this time we'll break that rule because Caesar can hook you up in Puerto Vallarta. Caesar, tell them what they need to know.
Yes, well, visit discoverpvr.com. Check it out. Tours, transportation, transfers, everything you need.
And Geography Now endorses them. All right, comenzamos.
Sí, bienvenidos a México.
One thing I'm liking is the audio is balanced between the two hosts here. Thank you.
Named after the Mexica people from ancient Aztec times, Mexico is a powerhouse on the world stage.
And it's hard to imagine how the entire Latin world, let alone the Western Hemisphere, would operate without it. First of all, Mexico is located on the southern part of the North American continent, straddling the Pacific Ocean, Gulf of California, and the Gulf of Mexico, bordered by the US to the north and Guatemala and Belize to the southeast.
The country is divided into 32 federal entities, 31 states, one of which is called Mexico, and the capital city of Mexico City. Oh, and Mexico City is technically sinking about 10 to 20 centimeters a year because it was built on a lake.
Anyway, with a greater metropolitan population over 21 million, Mexico City is the largest city and oldest capital city in the entire Western Hemisphere, and in itself has about the same GDP and economy as the entire country of Peru.
After Mexico City, though, the next largest cities are Guadalajara in Jalisco and Monterrey in Nuevo León. And if you come here, you will most likely fly to one of the busy
I will not be attempting to pronounce any of these words. Mainly because I play D&D with a they're all Hispanic, and they would I don't think they watch my videos, but if this were to be the one they watch and I try pronouncing their language, they'd make fun of me because I know I'd butcher it, and I don't want to be made fun of.
busiest airports.
The capital's Mexico City International. Then the second place is actually Cancun.
But if I'm being legit, I do think I could I could probably say something like very Americanized. Like, I don't know what it is, but like Spanish, and then of course Mexican Spanish, right? There's differences between European Spanish and Mexican Spanish, blah blah blah. His cultural drift and whatever. Both Spanishes. I can't, for whatever reason, I feel like it's one of the harder languages for me to like say, right? I think I can like get into maybe like say the words accurately. Like, I feel like I can do a pretty good job with French. I think I can do a pretty good job with German. I think I can do a pretty good job with Japanese and Chinese. Korean, no, just because I don't know, like, don't really hear a lot of Korean. I've heard a good bit of Chinese and Japanese throughout my life, so I feel like I'm able to pick that up. And I was also sort of learning Japanese when I was a youngster. Not enough to like. There was like certain phrases and things that I had learned. Feel like I could do Italian maybe. For whatever reason, Spanish. You elude me. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is that makes it different to my brain, where I feel like I'm butchering it every time I speak it.
Then Guadalajara and Monterrey Internationals. Yeah, we Americans love Cancun and we love going there all the time.
And we do too. Just clean up your vomit next time, okay?
No promises. Today Mexico all the time.
And we do too. Just clean up your vomit next time, okay?
No promises. Today Mexico has
no
no
problem.
territorial disputes. They did once with France over Clipperton Island, but that got settled. Otherwise, the border with the US, yeah, we know what you're thinking, but hear me out, it actually does have some quirky anomalies.
For example, on the border with Tijuana, there's a friendship park where you can chat and shake hands with locals of both sides through a fence that goes all the way into the Pacific.
Further east in California, two towns split by the border kind of trolled each other. One name
This is the thing that is so fucking like, you want to see cultural differences from one country to the next. Literally look here in the development of the city. Now, of course, this is a much more grid city than I actually probably would have expected from Mexico, but like, it's still not completely, like, if you look here at the US, look at these grids. These are mathematically like fucking shaped out. Like, this is city planning. This is a more organic kind of spread, right? It's still there's still grids. You can still map out the grids with the city streets and things like that, but it's still a more organic along the roads and just its general shape. This is just, I honestly hate this. I hate it so much. It's not good looking. I don't know who fucking thought, like, oh yeah, let's make some fucking straight lines. Yeah, that looks good for cities. No, stop it. It's disgusting. This is beautiful. This is natural. This is natural human development. Humans will develop as they need. They don't don't stop with the grids.
named itself Mexicali and the other side Calexico.
And in Naco, Arizona, the local residents have a cross-border volleyball game every so
Oh, that's
often.
pretty cool.
No, we don't want to sugarcoat everything. Yes, there are certain sections that are more barricaded and strict on the crossings, but besides the complicated nature behind these issues, there's a lot more to it than most media outlets portray. Speaking of territorial anomalies,
In the southernmost state of Mexico, Chiapas has some interesting towns that operate under a system called usos y costumbres, which means something like autonomous customary law. The people, mostly of indigenous descent, govern their own internal affairs, and the government just kind of lets them do their own thing without interference. It sounds kind of scary, but today it's actually kind of a dark fascination that has drawn in a ton of tourists.
and finally, let's just get it over with. Just like how we discussed in the Italy episode, everybody knows about it, it's nothing new. To a varying degree of power and disputable boundaries, yes, certain areas of Mexico do still kind of fall under cartel influence. It's a very strange system run by underground individuals that kind of meshes itself into normalcy with everyday citizens.
There are syndicates like the Cartel of Sinaloa in the northwest, the Zetas in the northeast, the Familia Michoacana in the center of the country, and the Jalisco Nueva Generación in
This is the thing that is so like interesting to me about Latin American development. Like it's just it's so I don't know if unique would be the right word. I mean, like how these things how these cartels came to be and stuff like that, and how they've rooted themselves inside the just general run of the country. It's just something that's hard to, I guess, comprehend as someone that lives in the United States. Now, of course, right, I don't live within a big city. If you live within a big city, this is something that might be a bit more familiar with because of gang activity, or maybe perhaps like in New York, mafia activity, gang, mafia, whatever the fuck. So this isn't something, exposed to. But yeah, it's just it's interesting how how and why this stuff develops. And I'm not saying it as a bad thing. I'm not saying it as a bad thing in case I don't want to die. I like living. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. Because these cartels do actually end up, cartels and gangs do end up looking out for their people, right? In a lot of cases, right? And the reason these cartels and gangs and stuff come into power is because they can do a better job of protecting the people and providing the basic needs of the people than the government itself. All right, that's just essentially the reason why they are there. Now, of course, the government could progress and get better, and then we run into the situation of, well, now the cartels don't want to lose their power, so they're going to sabotage the government and make sure the government can never provide better for the people, right? So that's, at a certain point, it could be a little, there could be problems there, but I'm going to shut up.
in the west.
Caesar, I'll let you explain this.
Today, it's very hard to estimate how many people are still involved and how much money is coming out, since numbers are always changing, especially after the war was declared on the cartels by the government in 2006 by President Calderon. But for what it's worth, the situation is still being dealt with today. Most Mexicans can agree that this operation largely failed. A large portion of the violence in Mexico is still caused by disputes between cartels for territory.
Thank you, Caesar. Well, I'm glad we got that out of the way because now we can lighten up a bit and talk about the almost infinite number of beautiful, notable spots Mexico has to offer. Some cool man-made landmarks might include places like
The Basilica de Guadalupe in Mexico City,
UNAM, the oldest university in North America,
the Castle of Chapultepec,
the catacombs at Templo Expiatorio,
Biblioteca Vasconcelos,
the tunnels of Puebla,
the Plaza de Toros Mexico,
the bronze sculptures of Puerto Vallarta, and if you're in for some creepy stuff,
the Casa de los Lamentos in Guanajuato,
Nope.
Torture Museum of Hacienda del Cochero,
the Mummy Museum
Nope.
in Guanajuato,
that creepy doll island of Las Muñecas, because
Nope.
And every so often, you might come across a Malverde altar. He's the patron saint of drug cartels.
they have a patron saint for drug cartels.
Oh.
But best for last, there are hundreds of Mesoamerican pyramids and sites. Some are possibly yet to be discovered hidden in the jungles, but the most famous ones probably being
Cholula, which is the largest monument ever constructed according to the Guinness World Records.
Monte Alban,
Teotihuacan, the Pyramid of the Sun and the Moon.
and one of the new 7 wonders of the world, the Mayan pyramid of Chichen Itza. Keep in mind, we said man-made. I know a lot of you might be wondering, why didn't they talk about all the cool natural sites like the cenotes, cenotes, or the volcanoes and canyons? Well, that's because that stuff will belong in the next section, the... Mexico's land is kind of like a piñata, colorful and full of surprises.
Dude, a piñata? You really rushed this part of the script, didn't you?
Yes, I did. First of all, the country is located on the
respect.
west edge where the North American plate meets the Pacific plate, making them part of the larger Ring of Fire.
The country is made up of 3 main mountain chains. The Sierra Madre Occidental, which has the largest lake, the Lake of Chapala in Jalisco. The Sierra Madre Oriental, which has the highest mountain peak, or Pico de Orizaba. And Sierra Madre del Sur, which effectively surrounds the large Mexican plateau in the middle.
A narrow flat valley lies between the Chiapas Mountains, which then swings up to the flat, humid Yucatan to the southeast. Oh yeah, and don't forget the arid Baja Peninsula to the west.
At the bottom of the plateau lies the Trans-Mexican Volcanic Belt, where most of the seismic and volcanic activity lies. The country has about 44 volcanoes. The most violent one is considered to be the Popocatépetl, which is less than 70 kilometers away from Ciudad de Mexico. There's also the world's smallest volcano, Cuexcomate, in Puebla, at only 13 meters
What?
tall.
Aw, what a cute little force of destruction.
Oh, that's nothing. A volcano once randomly erupted out of a dude's farm in 1943 in Michoacan. It grew over 1,000 feet tall.
Whoa! The Rio
How the fuck does that happen? What? Someone explain. Someone tell me how how?
Grande River, which makes part of the border shared with Texas, is the country's longest river. However, the longest non-shared river completely in Mexico would be the Nazas Agua Naval.
Along the coast are flatter green
What I like, what you can tell, like that gave it away that this is an American-made program, is because every other country, when he talks about the borders, he just says the name of the country. Literally, nothing changed. Like he could have just said United States, and maybe that would have been better, right? Like yeah, but also like, are most people probably outside of the United States going to know what Texas is? Yeah, but it's. I caught that, Barbie. I caught that. That's different than how you treat all other countries.
plains.
Basically, the north part is rockier and drier with landmarks like the Barrancas del Cobre Canyon and the Sonoma Desert with the massive crater-pocketed Tecolote lava fields, whereas the south part is humid and lush with biosphere reserves and rainforests harboring thousands of animal species.
Speaking of which, Mexico ranks as the 4th most biodiverse country on the
Swag.
planet. 10 to
Oh, I
12%
love
of the
ocelots.
world's biodiversity.
Oh, and bugs! There's a monarch butterfly sanctuary at Pátzcuaro.
And the firefly forest in Tlaxcala, as well as the national animal, the golden eagle, and
Huh.
the most iconic dog breed, the Chihuahua, the smallest dog in the world. And
I'm gonna be honest, I fucking hate Chihuahuas. I fucking hate those rat dogs. I hate them. They're tiny. They just don't look good. They look stupid. I hate them. I genuinely dislike, like, I am a dog lover, excluding Chihuahuas.
the nearly hairless Choloscuincle, or Cholo dog.
Remember we saw those dogs when I visited you, Caesar, and then yeah, that was like my second favorite part of the whole trip.
And what was your first favorite part?
The part where you introduced Esclava to me, and then remember I got a little tipsy, and then we played poker, and then I won, and then I almost fell down and... It's funny though, because Mexico also has a ton of like secret hidden natural land formations. There's that strange 153-kilometer long underground river in the Yucatan.
The Sótano de las Golondrinas in San Luis Potosí, which is the largest cave shaft in the world.
The giant crystals in the caves of
Oh
Naita.
yeah, I've seen
There's
them.
even the Islas Marietas, which has a hidden beach inside a hole in the
Well,
island.
you almost brought me there, but we couldn't go in.
Yeah, unfortunately, the weather conditions didn't permit it, but still, visit discoverpvr.com.
Yeah, I'll come back and visit someday.
Wait, can I come?
Yeah, sure. Catch.
What are these, goggles?
Yeah, you can swim there from Long Beach.
Resource-wise, Mexico is the world's largest producer of avocados, silver.
They introduced tons of new foods that would make their way across the globe, namely the big four: corn, chiles, chocolate, and tomatoes.
We would not have pizza if it wasn't for Mexico. Let that sink in.
Oh, and dear Mexico, thank you for inventing tajin and chamoy. My life was empty before this discovery.
Food-wise, there's too much to cover, but generally speaking, there are 7 regions of cuisine. In the Yucatan Peninsula, they love the anato seeds. They have Mayan dishes like bokchuk. In the south, the tlayudas are very popular, and the chapulines.
Remember, Ken, we tried those and they were good, right?
I'm sorry, what?
You're fired. Anyway,
In the Baja California, there are plenty of fish dishes and other seafood. The Bajío is very popular for their guacamayas. In the north, they love cabrito, is very popular in Monterrey, and they also have a big Tex-Mex influence. In the west, we eat pozole, birria, and we also invented tequila. In the center of Mexico, there's a lot of tortas, mole, and chile poblano. Economy-wise, Mexico is the 15th largest in the world in nominal terms, and 11th by purchasing power.
and they are busy. The World Trade Organization and OECD.
Honestly, I feel like Mexico's got to go higher than 11th. I genuinely believe Mexico, in terms of like how Mexico can influence, like Mexico's, I think Mexico could even crack top 5 with like the way I've seen, like even like celebrities, like let's say a celebrity sometimes is not as popular in the United States, even though that's where they get their start, but for whatever reason Mexico picks up on them and really falls for them. I have seen a couple celebrities like essentially pivot themselves and then like they start making songs with Spanish lyrics because for whatever reason they became super big in among Mexicans. So it's like I don't know what it is, but when Mexico wants something, when Mexico likes something, they can really like they can be pretty fucking influential. I think they're, if we're being more subjective instead of objective in terms of purchasing power, I think subjectively Mexico is probably higher. I would say top 5. Like I would probably go USA, China, Mexico in terms of like probably no, it would be USA, China, Japan, uh and then Korea, and then no, Korea is pretty influential, but I don't. USA's number 1, China's number 2, and then it's probably Japan or Mexico. I don't know who I would put at that 5th spot. I don't. European countries on an individual scale like this do not have this influence. I don't think anymore. No, I don't think the British do. Like as I'm thinking about this, I don't think the British have the influence that China and Mexico have. Now, of course, China compared to Mexico, there's a big gap between those two as well. But Mexico, subjectively, I feel like can be extremely fucking influential with this stuff.
CD has ranked Mexico as
For whatever
the
reason,
hardest working country
I am yapping today. This video is already like what, 23 minutes long? We have 10 more minutes of actual video to watch.
in the world. On average, they work over 43 hours a week.
That's it? Dude, that actually seems pretty low, to be honest.
Yeah,
Main
that sounds
exports of
pretty
the
good.
country include things like automobiles, electronics. They are the largest flat screen television exporter in the world as of 2017. We covered a lot. Okay, I think that's most of it. Landscape, animals, resources, food, economy. Okay, yeah.
Should we talk about Mexican people now?
Yeah, why not? Next section, go.
You know, it's kind of complicated.
They better fucking talk about the food, dude. They better talk about the fucking food. Like, so if we were to look at what Ryan likes to eat culture, like different culture foods, obviously we got the American cuisine, which Fucking some fucking Europeans are gonna be like, actually, that comes from. Fuck off. It's American. No, shut up. It's American. It's it's American food. Shut the fuck up. Get the fuck out of here. No one likes you. Anyways, culture food. I would probably put Mexican food as number two for me. Like American, Mexican, and then probably Italian. Mexico and Italian could swap because I fucking love pizza and I love pasta. So, but I also fucking love tacos. Like, uh, and like Mexican seasoning versus Italian seasoning, I'd probably give the edge to Mexican seasoning. I really like the flavor in Mexican seasoning over Italian seasoning. Like for just being like general like seasonings on a wide scale. Like yeah. I'd probably give the edge to Mexico there. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Fucking love quesadillas. Ah, and I think Mexico's number two. Italian number three. Um, French I might put four just because bread. The French make some good fucking bread. Let's see. Oh, ooh, who would be five? All right, actually, hold on. I think I gotta redo this because American cuisine is so diverse, right? You have Black American cuisine, you have Southern cuisine, you have barbecue, you have like Louisiana has its own like fucking subs like is its own thing too, even though it's in the South. The Northeast, the Northwest, Californian. Uh, there's Chinese American because Chinese American food is a lot different than actual Chinese food. Uh, ooh, ooh, we're gonna have shit. Hmm. I should do a fucking culture food ranking thing. Um, I fucking ooh, because if I were to like be more particular about this ranking stuff, and subdivide the various different American like food cultures. Mexico might get bumped down from two, might go down to three or four, because there are a couple American like I don't really care too much for like the British American kind of food, the kind of what would probably be seen as the white American food. I love barbecue. Um, Soul food is y'all like come on. White people, we colonized the world for spices and then we decided not to use them. What the fuck? Come on, use the spices, please. Please. It makes the food taste good. That's why like anyways.
Because there's three
Is
different
that the
kinds
last
of
tangent for
titles
the
for
episode?
Mexican.
I don't
First of
know.
all, you have the Mexicano, which means it's a person from Mexico. The Mexiquense is a person from the state of Mexico.
Ooh, I should listen to this because this is important.
And the Mexiqueño, or as we call them, Chilangos, is a person from the capital, Mexico City.
So yeah, take note on that. First of all, the country is made up of about 124 million people and is the largest Spanish-speaking country and largest economy in the Latin world. It's a little difficult to get exact numbers because there are a lot of opinions on race in Mexico, and the official census does not technically collect data on ethnicity, but overall, it is said that somewhere around 2/3 of the country identifies as Mexican mestizo, about 21% identify as predominantly Amerindian, whereas 7% identify as straight up Amerindian. The remainder is made up of other groups, mostly white European Mexicans, while a small group of Asians like Lebanese, Chinese, Japanese, and Koreans exist, alongside Afro-Mexicans, which make up about 1.2% of the population.
We use the Mexican peso as our currency, and we use type A and B American-style plug outlets, and we drive on the right side of the road.
Damn right it's the right side of the road. Correct. Thank you, Mexico. You're doing great.
All the countries speak Spanish. However, technically, it isn't an official language. The country recognizes 68 other indigenous
Damn.
languages.
These tribes each have their own unique story and history that goes back thousands of years before colonialism, as depicted by petroglyphs, codexes, and Mesoamerican carvings.
They had unique traits and traditions. The Aztecs were known for having a thriving economy, yet had brutal human sacrifice rituals.
The Mayans were really good at math and had a unique system of seeing time in an endless cycle pattern rather than linear. And today, tribes still go on carrying ancient traditions, everything from the Raramuri or Tarahumara, known as the running tribe, who can go over 200 miles in 2 days with sandals.
The Voladores de
no.
Papantla, upside down hanging,
Oh,
spinning
no.
musicians of various central tribes like the Otomís. There's even indigenous festivals held every year in Oaxaca called Guelaguetza.
At around 82%, the majority of the country identifies as belonging to the Catholic faith, and Catholicism plays a huge and slightly interesting fusion role in Mexican society.
Catholicism in Mexico is unique because it has kind of its own story. Every Mexican knows about the Nuestra Señora de Guadalupe church. It all started by a vision of the Virgin Mary from this guy.
Today, native tradition and Catholicism kind of go hand in hand in Mexico. The biggest example probably being the Day of the Dead or the Dia de los Muertos. No other Catholic community does this besides Mexicans. Many scholars claim to trace the ofrenda and dead ancestor honoring tradition to the Aztec festival dedicated to the goddess of the underworld, Mictec and stuff like that. You see a lot of holy water and crosses, but there's always like a touch of that, like, pre-colonial Mexican magic added in there, right, Caesar?
It is, it's exactly right. Sport-wise, soccer
Or football.
is of course widely popular. However, not in every region, and many sports are uniquely iconic to Mexico, such as the charreria, which is a kind of like a rodeo, and of course we have the lucha libre. In fact, Mexico has 150 pre-Hispanic games, some still played today, each with the risk of dying from, such as the pelota purepecha, which is like a fire hockey played at night, or Pok-tapok, the 4-kilogram heavy rubber ball thing that you have to hit with your hips and, put it through a stone hoop.
Can you imagine hitting anything on your body with a 4-kilogram solid rubber ball? It's like, whoa, I can't believe you guys
Yeah.
do that. Mexican history extends millennia prior to any colony, and it would take forever to cover it all, but in the quickest way we can condense it. Olmecas.
Teotihuacan, Toltecas, and Mexicas. The Mayans in the Yucatan Peninsula.
The Spanish arrive, you can kind of guess where that went.
Colonization, having the Spanish in Mexico for 300 years.
The people all start mixing, mestizos are born,
Independence in 1810, led by this guy.
empire led by this Austrian prince guy, he gets killed.
French tried to invade. Yeah, that didn't work out.
Benito Juarez, good president.
Porfirio Diaz, good president at the beginning, but eventually became a dictator.
Civil War, although Mexicans usually call it the Mexican Revolution.
Lázaro Cárdenas, the PRI lost for the first time in over 70 years.
Then Mexico's first left-wing president was elected in, and despite geopolitical turmoil, the economy actually still stays relatively steady and doesn't spike or dip, so that's good. And here we are today.
Some notable people.
No, it was decent. It wasn't their best job with recapping history very quickly. They've done better with briefer before, actually. In this one, they tried to be a bit more, a little bit more in-depth, more detailed, and it didn't quite work here. I don't know if that's just because of the pacing, or like just because, yeah, I don't know. It didn't flow for me.
People of Mexico or of Mexican descent may include historical figures like Moctezuma and Cuauhtémoc and Sor Juana Inés de la Cruz, José María Morelos,
Josefa Oriste Dominguez, Emiliano Zapata,
Pancho Villa, athletes like
Oscar de la Hoya,
Rafa Márquez and Hugo Sánchez, soccer players,
singers like
Antonio Aguilar,
Jorge Negrete,
Pedro Infante,
Vicente Fernandez,
Luis Miguel,
Juan Gabriel. Oh, and if you ask any American Mexican, they all love Selena,
actors like
Dolores del Rio,
Maria Felix, Roberto Gómez Bolaños.
and even though she's not Mexican, Lupita Nyong'o was born in Mexico, and you guys love her, right?
We do.
Yeah.
Diego Luna,
Who the fuck doesn't love Lupita Nyong'o? Oh yeah, Diego Luna is. Dude, I can't say it because the SAG-AFTRA strike. I can't. He had a show on a certain network that was came out last year. He was so good. He was amazing. Like, let me tell y'all, when that show was first announced, I'm gonna try and just avoid saying the name, and maybe that doesn't. I was not at all excited for it. Now, of course, this also showcases the importance of the writers, because if it weren't for the writers, he's a talented fucking actor, but if the show was still written bad, I don't know if he could have saved it aside from just him being his charismatic self. Um, but I wasn't excited at all for the show because I was just like, this isn't necessary. This isn't needed. We don't need to know this information. And then the show came out and I was like, oh my God, this was so needed. I love it. And his performance, amazing. This man is fantastic. Fantastic. I need to just watch more of his stuff just because he's so good. I've only watched the stuff that he's in from a certain rat. I think that gave it away. If you couldn't figure it out before, what I was talking about. But yeah,
Eugenio Derbez,
Salma Hayek,
Gael Garcia Bernal, of course everybody knows Frida Kahlo and Diego Rivera,
Alejandro González Iñárritu, Alfonso Cuarón, and Guillermo del Toro.
Nobel Prize winners Alfonso Garcia Robles,
Octavio Paz.
and Mario Molina,
Some other notable people may include Carlos Canseco,
and Carlos Simhelu, whose entire net worth was about 7% of Mexico's GDP at one point.
Damn.
Yeah, he had a lot of business in other countries in Latin America and the world. And speaking of relations with other countries,
bum bum.
so Mexico is quite the social butterfly. The monarch social butterfly from Michoacan. First of all, in Asia, the Philippines are another former Spanish colony, and they're kind of like the interesting random Asian cousin that shows up that you didn't realize you had. They generally get along, just not in boxing.
I don't have a random Asian cousin that just shows up. Don't think I do. I don't interact with my family, so I wouldn't even know anyways.
Japan was the first Asian country to come in contact with Latin America, and today they can travel visa-free. Japan has opened up factories in Mexico and was the first country to respond after the recent earthquake, and Mexico
nice.
was the first to send aid after the recent
Aw,
tsunami.
that's
In
wholesome.
Latin America, most Mexicans might say the countries of the Pacific Alliance, Colombia, Chile, and Peru. These countries have not only had a tied history under Spanish rule and do great business with each other, but they also piggyback off of each other's cultures, and they love watching Mexican TV shows and movies. Mexicans love visiting these places. It's almost like they're just visiting extended family.
In regards to Spain, all the colonial animosity has died down, fortunately. We're cool now with Spanish people, and they love visiting Mexico.
Like we mentioned in the Canada episode, Mexicans have been flocking to Canada in recent years after the visa requirements were lifted.
And the Canadian government actually encourages immigration to help assist the workforce.
Now we reach the US. I know, you've heard the headlines. It seems kind of complicated, but if we look at the overall scope of diplomacy, despite any political hindrances, the US and Mexico always seem to have an unbreakable bond that still survives.
The US has somewhere around 11 million Mexicans living in it today, which
Only 11 million? That seems low. That seems low to me.
makes up the largest migrant group out of all
I mean, yeah, but still seems low.
immigrants. About 80% of Mexico's exports
Maybe this is just due to where I live, but like it feels like that feels low. That number feels low.
go to the US, and the US makes up about half of Mexico's imports.
They cooperate very closely in international
I just realized they didn't cover food. Worst video.
affairs, usually backing
How
up
the fuck can you do a Geography Now episode on Mexico? It's 18 minutes long and not talk about the food. Wait, did they talk about the food? They briefly talked about the food, but not in depth. Give me the in-depth food. I'm getting
similar
heated.
Western
I
values
need
that
to
the
calm
US
down.
stands by, and overall, no matter how crazy things get, they can't help but be there for each other in the end. In conclusion, Caesar, what do you think you would say about Mexico?
Well, it's almost as if the people of Mexico kind of laugh at the face of destruction. We have volcanoes, earthquakes, drama, but we colorfully play and dance with death. It doesn't bother us. If anything, ironically, it fuels us with even more life.
Very well said. Stay tuned. Micronesia, the Federated States of Micronesia, is coming up next.
Viva Mexico!
Actually, what's funny, when I'm recording this, I think, was it Mexican Independence Day? Was pretty recent. So like, you drive around, you'll see a bunch of, Mexican flags on like the roofs of people's cars, stuff like that in where I live, around the area. But yeah, that was Geography Now Mexico. This was not the, it was good. I had a lot to say. It's not the longest Geography Now video that we have done, though. I think there are a couple other videos of Geography Now that are longer than this one. If they had shown the food, this video would be over an hour because I would have just been, oh, I would have been in love, drooling, foaming at the mouth. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. Remember to hit that like button and subscribe for more, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.